Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Inside TCH Live. I'm Ben Kirby alongside Greg Potter, my fearless co-host.
What's up,
and
man?
Poker Pro. What's up, dude?
Not much, man. Glad to be here with you.
Yeah, me too, man. Excited to be on another episode of the pod. Real quick, the pod is available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, all that good stuff. If you're interested in subscribing to Inside TCH Live, we've got a fun episode today. Later on, we've got an interview with a popular Twitch streamer, vlogger, all that good stuff, Poker Pros, and Drew, Bet on Drew Gonzalez. Great interview. We caught him while he was in Vegas finishing up his WSOP time, and great guy. I mean, it was a great interview. He was very gracious to give us some of his time, and it's got a really interesting story. Kind of living depending on how you look at it, living the poker dream, right, Greg?
Absolutely, yeah, and he had a good time out in Vegas from what I understand, so it was a great interview. Glad I got to talk to him a little more. I got to play with him before, and we didn't really get to talk much, so it was good to sit down for a little while and chat it up a bit.
Oh, that's right. He came through on his nationwide RV tour, played on the stream a couple times, at least once, and you got to play with him. We're going to check out a couple really important hands from the WSOP Main Event. One, the final hand, which was very exciting, but also one hand that everybody's talking about, featuring a gentleman named Nick Rigby, who had a very interesting bluff that has been circulating the YouTube sphere, and we actually got him to come to TCH Live. He's going to be here in December from TCH Dallas. But before we get to that, let's get to the interview with Drew, Bet on Drew Gonzalez. We've got Drew, Bet on Drew with us today. What's up, dude?
How's it going, buddy? Good to see you guys.
Doing pretty good. Great to meet you finally.
You too, Ben.
We're excited to have you on the podcast. I almost said stream.
Almost.
That's our life. That's our life. We're about to be on the stream in like 20 minutes. So we're pumped to have you here. Where are you in the world?
So I'm in Vegas right now, playing some of these poker tournaments out here, trying not to lose all my money.
Enduring the pain, my man. I did a little bit of research on you, and you play a ton of tournaments.
Yeah, I'm a tournament junkie for sure.
Gosh, how do you do it, man?
I can't do it,
it's
man.
just, we deal with a lot of cash players all the time, but the guys that endure the tournament thing over and over and over, what's your secret? What makes you bounce back?
Man, I think it's tough because honestly, being a tournament player, you have to enjoy pain, but I've been thinking about it a lot
Bit of a masochist.
over the course of this series. And it's like tournament players are always chasing a high. Do you get what I mean?
The high of winning a big one.
Yeah.
That multiplicative score is pretty enticing, and that's what keeps people coming back, I guess. But man, I'm sure you've experienced this, playing for 8 or 10 hours and having nothing to show for it. That's enough to make a weaker man lose his mind.
For sure. I've lost my mind many a times.
Yeah. Well, thanks again for being on the podcast with us. We don't want to take a ton of your time, but real quick, for the people out there that maybe don't follow you on Twitch or follow your vlog on YouTube, tell us how you got into poker and maybe how you got to where you are today, and then we can get into more of the specifics about what's going on in your life right now.
So I kind of similar-ish story to a lot of people. The old moneymaker boom caught my attention. Actually, caught my roommate's attention in college. I lived with 3 other guys at the time, and I remember I was on my computer. This is my first exposure to poker. I was on my computer and talking to my girlfriend on AIM or something. I'm totally dating myself right now. But I came out and I was see my 3 buddies at the kitchen table. They got a bunch of bottle caps. They have poker on the TV, and it was new. It wasn't normal. I'm like, what are you idiots doing, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then I go out, and a couple days go by, and it's okay, they're just doing something stupid and whatever. But then, I forget, we were drinking one night, and then they brought back out the let's play poker again, and they had the World Series on TV, and we were all new, and it was okay, I'm kind of curious. Deal me in, or whatever you do.
Why do these young people want to play this game that I've only heard of grandparents playing?
Yeah,
kind of thing?
My grandpa plays it every Thursday.
Yeah, exactly. So that was kind of the start of it. And then I just played recreationally for many years. I would say that was 2000, early 2000s, right? Moneymaker was 2003. So just kind of like it was another thing that I knew of, and I would start making trips to Atlantic City with my buddies. We'd all head out with $500, leave with nothing. Oh, you know, that type of story. But then I kind of got sick of the 9 to 5 grind in 2010, and I was starting to make playing online, like just playing the nittiest strategy ever. I started to make like $300 a month playing tournaments on this like small site, Carbon Poker. And I was like, man, I just need to get out of this grind. I wanted my freedom. I hated waking up to an alarm clock. And I was like, okay, I'm going to try to make this poker thing work in 2010. And then kind of...
Was that pre-Black Friday or post?
Yeah, pre-Black Friday. I had like 2 years, kind of roughly, pre-Black Friday to have some stuff. When we could play on Stars and Full Tilt, I barely even played on there. I didn't even know that was like a thing.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was a nice early start, but then my real start, I would say, came when I started streaming full-time, end of 2015. And then things really, with tournament poker, streaming, everything kind of got serious for me.
That's awesome. So now you're a full-time streamer. Would you call yourself a poker pro, or are you a full-time streamer, or both? Can you be both?
I think you
can be both.
Yeah, I think you can be both, but actually just recently Poker News asked me the same question: am I a poker player or a content creator? And I feel like over the last couple of years, man, my answer is like a content creator who plays poker. Like I don't study as much poker as I think about creating content and streaming and making like YouTube videos. So I'm in a very interesting spot. Like, I'm not terrible at poker. I'm definitely good enough to get by, but I also am putting a lot, I would say, more energy into thinking about like creating content right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brad Owen has said something kind of similar where he's like, I make my living from poker, but not playing poker. It's like most of the time, like he's probably getting most of his revenue from the content creation and things like that. So it's pretty interesting to hear that you're kind of in the same vein in that sense.
For sure.
The guys that I think are going to stay around for the longest are the guys like you that can hedge a bit and do the content piece, because I think there's very few people in the world that can just straight up play poker professionally without having any other income source. Like, the content piece is such a good addition to a poker player's lifestyle, because it maintains the not waking up to an alarm, not doing a 9 to 5, but also is way more consistent than dealing with the variance week over week. Yeah, it's awesome. So you started doing the streaming thing 2015, your game improves, your results improve. Fast forward to, I guess, like COVID in 2021. You recently did like an RV tour, right?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Just like a random idea came up I was actually streaming, and a lot of really cool stuff has happened through my stream. It's such an incredible vehicle for a lot of other things, but I was on stream and I was towards the end of my session, so I'm one-tabling, like Googling, talking to chat, doing whatever random stuff. And
all on ACR?
Huh?
All on ACR?
Primarily ACR, but I could play other sites too, and I play a bunch of other sites as well, especially on Sundays with the big guarantees.
Sure.
But yeah, it was just like a random idea came up. I was like, oh, it'd be sick to do like a cross-country tour on an RV thing and like stream whatever. And one of my buddies was like, oh, I actually think there's like a Guinness Book of World Record for like if you can stream in every state in X amount of time. So just like a bunch of random nonsense talk at first. And somebody who was watching my stream was actually like, I have an RV and I'll drive it for you if you want. And my initial...
What?
Right? And then my initial
That's awesome.
was like, okay, buddy, I bet.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure you will.
And then you're going to murder me, right?
Yeah. And then you walked out your front door and there it was.
Yeah. Exactly. So I like, okay. And then it just kept coming up, same guy. And then like we just started talking somehow, and he sent me a video of the RV. And then I got to meet him at Prime Social when I was in Texas playing like earlier this year. I was like, oh, wow, this is a real dude. He's actually, everything he says, showed me the RV, just like this guy who doesn't have to worry about money. He's getting into poker. He's got new passions. And it was like, oh, this is a real thing. And then right before the WSOP started. So I hate flying. I'll look for any reason to not fly. And it popped in my head, hey, going back out to Vegas, maybe I'll hit this guy up and see if he wants to do this RV thing and drive for us. Literally sent him a text. He's like, in. I was like, oh, wow, I wasn't ready for that.
Oh. Full commitment, instant.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool, man, that just like landed in your lap. That's not something that most people have an opportunity to do. Did you stick to the Guinness World Record thing, or did that kind of go by the wayside?
No. So I think that's something that can still happen. I might have like leaked that up. There's some other kind of like cool ideas, like with more of this.
Sure.
But the RV trip that I took and eventually ended up in Dallas playing with you guys. Greg played on the stream with us. That was really cool. And
Yep.
This was like a trial. So there may be more coming from this, but this was a trial RV trip, which
I see.
Was very, very positive, I think. And it was good to know, okay, this can happen. This is real. We can like build from here.
That's awesome. So, I mean, you did the shameless softball for us. How was your time in Dallas? And explain why TCH Dallas was the best possible poker room you could have ever stopped at on your tour.
Well, the atmosphere and everybody who's played there was really nice. The place in Dallas, because there's multiple locations. I haven't been to the Austin, but have I been to Dallas? I think I've been to Dallas maybe a couple times. Definitely a few times during the tour, but it's just, the room is clean. It's all poker. The people who go there all the time love it. And then the live stream has been great. And so, I mean, it just made sense. And it was perfect, too, because it was on our way. Like, of the, like, 3 possible routes over to Vegas, like, we went right by you guys. And weirdly enough, too, right before the RV trip happened, I just started talking to Dave. He, like, stumbled across one of my YouTube videos. And sometimes life just makes it easy. You know, the breadcrumbs are there. All you got to do is just follow.
Sure.
It's a beautiful thing about being a content creator is that once you do develop some kind of notoriety, eventually people start reaching out to you. I mean, that's the cool thing about, like, we talked to Lexo Poker a couple weeks ago, and his life seemingly has changed in a year, all because he just posted some videos that were edited well and people liked his play style. That's really cool. And I'm glad that guys are getting to experience some levels of success, even if it's just a networking play. Like, even if you don't make any more dollars on content, you're building a network that is probably pretty invaluable.
For sure.
I mean, Exhibit A, getting the RV offer. Like, you don't know this guy and he doesn't know you, but he feels some kind of connection to you through the content. That's one of the coolest parts about the whole vlogging world, is that people connect with the poker players in a way that they've never been able to before. That's awesome. How were the results for the RV trip?
So me and my 2 other buddies, John was on the live stream at TCH with us. He played, and Rob. So the 3 of us, we were actually all lined up in the seats there. We had a bet that whoever on our cross country RV tour lost the most or made the least was going to have to get fake nails for a week. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Sweet.
Oh, I saw that.
Oh, I did. Yeah, I think I remember you guys saying something about that.
Ridiculous.
So it was crazy. Our challenge, stopping at the different casinos along the way, ended in Vegas, and there was like the last 3 sessions from each of us. We didn't tell each other what we had because obviously, if somebody was like way behind, they could just like cut a session short. It didn't make sense.
Yeah.
But I ended up losing by $51, and I had to get the fake nails for a week, and it was a nightmare, man. They actually look kind of cool on my fingers. But it was a nightmare, like putting on your pants, showering.
Functionally.
I couldn't take out my contacts the first night. I had to have somebody else.
Oh, that's one. That'll do it. I've never understood how ladies can do that, or anyone that can do that with those and taking out your contacts, man. That sounds like
it was
living
treacherous,
hell.
man. it was treacherous.
Yeah.
But it was good content. Again, I did it for the content.
Yes, that is good content.
Then I played like 2 WSOP events with the nails, and everybody's asking me what's going on. This was funny at my one WSOP table. I remember the first day I had the nails. Female dealer, I sit down. They're like, "Oh, hi, I like your nails." And when she would get done with her down, they would come over to my seat and be like, "Oh, can I see?" The very first like 2-3 female dealers did that, and then like an older gentleman came and sat down, looked at my nails, and at this point I'm expecting a comment. He looks at me and goes,
"Yeah,
interesting. And that's what he said.
He was probably from Texas.
Yeah, probably. Just like, what am I even seeing right now? That's funny.
Anything for the content, man, right?
Anything. No, that's good content, though. So, you fired at the main event, right? How many actual events have you played out there?
I have played 29 tournaments so far in the last month and a half.
Oh my god, that's bananas, man. That's some...
with one big score. You scooped one, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yep, I won an Orleans tournament early in the trip,
sweet.
like October 12th, I think it was.
I think Kingdom Mom said the 8th. I was stalking you a bit.
Oh, okay. Early October.
$400 no limit. First place, 46,000 is pretty sick at the Orleans.
That's a great score, man.
Yeah.
Played a lot of Omaha 8 at the Orleans. Shout out to the grunginess that is the Orleans off the street.
Yeah. It was definitely nice, and I thought it would be a soft spot. So it was nice to win that one, especially it's a minefield, like 1,300 people in that tournament, $400 buy-in.
Wow,
Jeez.
Yeah,
Man,
that's a pretty big
awesome.
field. Yeah, and I mean, it's so funny that you talk about like, oh, I left this grind of a job for playing poker, and then you played 29 tournaments in a month. That's a different kind of grind, man.
For sure.
That's something else, but that's really cool that you got the big score and you got the dedication for it. So congrats on that.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
Absolutely. And was this your first World Series, like your bona fide? I see you played some circuit events, but was this first bona fide World Series?
This would have been my second full series. My first full series out here in Vegas was 2019 when I was in the Thirst Lounge with Bill Perkins and everyone else. So that was kind of my comeback because I was kind of hitting a low point in 2018 where I was playing less than $10 buy-ins because I had no bankroll. I had to get a job because I was going through this big breakup with an ex, and I hit a low point. And then the project with Bill and the Thirst Lounge kind of brought me back up. And then here we are now, 2021, our second full series and second time being able to play the main, which was really cool. My first time I made early day 3, I ended up busting, and then this time we got to experience a little bit of that sweet dream, making a deep run.
Yeah.
Nice, dude.
Sweet.
Congrats.
Yeah.
Meaning you cashed? Are you saying you cashed?
Yeah, I finished 106th.
Dude, that's pretty
really?
dope.
Oh my gosh, man, I didn't know that you had
no
made
wonder
it
he's
that
got a
far.
smile on his face.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, no, I didn't know you had made it that far. That's awesome.
106.
Finishing.
End of day 5.
What was the field? It was like 6,000 people or something like that.
6,500. Yeah.
6,500. Man, that's bananas. Honestly, great run on that.
What did that feel like to you? Was that like some kind of validation for all the work that you've put in, or what did that feel like to you?
I would say for sure it felt like a lot of hard work, coming through. But of course you got to get lucky. In some spots you got to win some flips here and there. So of course I'll never take away from that. But what I will say is I have in the last 2 years reached out and gotten one-on-one coaching from several different high stakes, high level players. I've definitely hit the lab a lot, studied more sims in the last 2 years than all of my studies in the past. But it's funny, live poker is not kind of a theory based thing. Depending on who you're playing, it was a lot of exploitative play and me doing some janky stuff to not have myself in weird situations, right? I was playing very much so to position myself and maybe sacrificing some EV and spots that I could have to navigate the field more so than do you get what I mean? Play every hand to max EV. So I feel like that really helped me because navigating the main, it's 2-hour levels. It's really slow.
Crazy. That is crazy.
You have plenty of time, and gosh, I don't know. I'm putting a lot of weight on. I've had a lot of really cool runs this year with some slight changes in my game that might be deviating a little bit from theory, but to kind of be conscious of that and all the notes I took going into the main, and then to have the deep run in 106, they definitely made me feel like Oh gosh, it's so worth it, and I'm still like so
So
hungry.
worth it.
Like only got to wait like 7 months for the series to come back again.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's coming back into the summer next year, so it's not, you're gonna get that fix even earlier this time.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I know.
Did your stable of coaches up their prices once they found out you had a deep run?
Yeah, probably for sure.
They're like, I made it deep. We can, tack on an extra 50 an hour. Yeah.
That's
great.
awesome, man. Well, so how much longer are you in Vegas?
Week and a half left in the house here.
Okay, and then what's the future of Bet on Drew look like?
That's a great question.
Now that you've outside of winning a bracelet, you ran deep in the main. I mean, what's next for you?
So actually, there's this one little thing that's like on my mind that I'll tell you guys. I am $171 in cash away from 100K this series. So like I'm going to starting tomorrow for a week and a half. All I'm doing is playing dailies until I can get that cash. Right.
Sure.
Like,
awesome.
To fall short of that would just explode my brain. I can't even handle thinking about it. But after that, I'm going to go to Sacramento and play the WPT at Thunder Valley. They have an event there. I'm going to play that. And that's like the last thing I have planned. And then like I'll go back to Pennsylvania for the holidays. And I don't have like an apartment. I don't have a house. I've been like doing Airbnbs and traveling all this year. So I really have to like figure it out. I don't know what's next for me. I know I'll be streaming once I get into my next Airbnb or whatever it is. And I'm excited to get back in the lab and study a little bit and grind some online tournaments in my pajamas versus having to, get up, change, Uber to go play.
Shower and actually wear deodorant.
Stupid, right? Who wants to do that?
Yeah, who wants to do that? Why not?
Not me. Man, that's really awesome. I mean,
awesome.
Some would say you're living the poker dream.
I can't disagree. I think about it a lot, actually, like how far my story has changed in the last 3 years from playing $10 and less tournaments, just trying to keep the stream alive, to now, making deep runs in the main and having a poker trip where I cash for 100K and stuff. It's like, somebody would have told me that, I'd be like, that's really, really funny.
Yeah.
It's a good joke, man. Well, the joke's on them now, so.
I mean, you get to rub shoulders with the likes of Ryan DePaulo, true professionals.
Yeah. Like everyone, I've bet so many, like Ryan's like a superstar everywhere he goes. Like people,
he's hilarious. He is one of my favorite dudes on the internet.
Yeah. So him and I have gotten really close, and a lot of other people here. It's just been a really cool experience, and I definitely think about it a lot, like how lucky I am and how I am kind of living, the poker dream that a lot of people would love to be doing, and I really try to do my best to like honor this opportunity in whatever way I can. I know how lucky I am.
Oh, I was just going to say, for people that maybe don't follow you now, how can people find you online, on the stream, on YouTube, all that good stuff? Plug away.
So my Twitch, where I will, when I'm back into my regular flow, I'll be streaming 3-4 days a week on twitch.tv/betondrew. And my socials, Twitter is betondrew, Instagram is betondrew. My YouTube channel is betondrew. And I think that's it. Those are the main ones that I'm on.
I love it. Drew, bet on Drew Gonzalez. Everybody out there follow the stream, subscribe to the YouTube, all that good stuff. Drew, really appreciate you doing this, and good luck for that remaining week and a half or so in Vegas.
Cheers, guys. I appreciate you. Thanks for having me on.
All right, Greg P. We want to talk a couple specific poker hands.
Let's hear 'em.
More specifically, tournament hands, which we don't talk a lot about because a big portion of our stream is cash games, but we do have weekend tournament final table streams. So tournaments are very relevant, and especially relevant now, given that we're on the tail end of the 2021 World Series of Poker. And there were a couple of interesting hands over this World Series of Poker that I wanted to talk about. First is this insane bluff by Nick Rigby. You mind talking us through it, and maybe we can chat about it?
Yeah, there was a heads-up pot here between two guys who were pretty deep in the main event. I don't remember exactly how far they were in, how many are left, but I want to say it was like top 100. Mm-hmm. And Nick Rigby gets in there with the skinny, man. He gets in there with the 3-deuce offsuits. This guy Jensen raises him from the small blind. Rigby 3-bets the 3-deuce, playing his big blind, and he's playing like blind v blind game. as ranges are usually pretty wide, and Jensen's not always supposed to have kings there. And then Jensen 4-bets, and Rigby actually calls for like a third of his stack. For
I think he started it with like 8 or 9 million, and Jensen had 6 to start.
Yeah, it was 5.2 and like 9.5 million, and so it goes 3-bet to 1 million, or a race of 325k, 3-bet to almost 1 million, and then Jensen puts in the 4 for like a third of his stack, up to like 2.1 million, and Rigby calls it in position, just like very clearly going for a pure bluff. Like, I can't imagine what else he was doing with the 3 deuce in this spot, risking his main event tourney life with 3 high. 3 deuce offsuits. 3 deuce offsuit, by the way. It's like not even suited. But he does make the call, and the pot's like 4.3 million. There's a less than a pot size bet left, and an ace comes on the flop, and Jensen's got kings, right? So it's just the worst spot ever.
Ace 4-4, 2 spades, and so technically Rigby flops a wheel draw, so he actually flops a little bit of equity versus the kings, but also an invaluable position on Jensen. And go ahead.
Yeah, once Jensen checks here, I mean, either he's got aces full or his hand is so face up as kings, queens, jacks, etc. that Rigby has like the easiest jam ever here. That once he gets this exact flop, this is the flop that he needed for 3 deuce to work, and he has a gutter ball to the wheel. He blocks a lot of like 4 tray combos, 4 deuce combos, ace deuce, ace 3 combos. It's just a great hand to now turn into a bluff, because you can't win with 3 high, that's for sure. So he rips it in for Jensen's stack, and Jensen tanks forever. Like, he tanks for like a solid 2 minutes and then lays it down, and Nick instantly shows the 3 high, and Jensen's just like sick to his stomach.
It's a disgusting spot. I mean, there's no way you can find a call unless you have a specific, or I don't think there's many ways you can find a call unless you have a specific tell or history with this guy.
For real.
I thought it was interesting though when Jensen checked over to him pretty quickly that Rigby insta-jammed. And
pretty quickly.
Historically, when players that are, I don't know, like, oftentimes this feels kind of weak to me.
Yeah.
Like, an insta-jam is kind of over-communicating that you're super strong, and why would you not take a second to think about all the options?
If you're actually strong.
Right,
yeah.
And so, seeing the cards and having hindsight, it's like, all right, maybe there's a situation if you're actually picking up on that where you can make a huge call, but you're calling for your entire main event, bro.
Yeah, the entire stack was second pair. It's like in reality, I think the king's fold is like actually fine. Because
he has all the aces.
He has a lot of aces. He has way more aces than even Jensen has. Like Jensen has all the strongest aces, like ace king, ace queen, even ace jack, aces, etc. But Rigby has all of the wheel aces. He has every middling ace at that point, because he's probably going to call with a suited like ace 9, ace 10, all those things. So he just has so many more aces in that spot that it's just like, what are you supposed to do? Like, this is just a miserable position where you wake up with the kings and you get the bird showing up on the flop, and the guy just jams into you in a 4-bet pot. What are you supposed to do? Call it off?
No,
absolutely not.
I mean, long term, what do you think about the deuce 3? I mean, maybe that's purely an exploitative thing, like blind versus blind. I've got position on this guy.
It's exactly what it was. But I mean, even talking about exploitation, like the SPR was already so low. Like, he needed this exact flop to run this play, and even then, like, he could just be jamming into the nuts here, and he just has no idea. So it's like, he should have just folded. Like, he should have either just called once or folded. But he decided to make a move late in the game. He wanted to play for the chips. He wanted every single one of them, and he got some, made a deep run. So
yeah, in a regular tournament, that's ballsy. But the biggest tournament, or I guess the most prestigious tournament of the year, and the stakes at risk, it's just like triple the amount of balls this guy has to do this. No, because like very often this just doesn't work out, and you're out of the tournament, and you have a terrible story to tell.
And it's on camera, it's on video.
In HD, in 4K potentially.
They can see your sweat roll off your face.
So you feel for the guy Jensen, because it's like a lot of us have probably been in spots like that where it's like this is the worst. I got kings. I did everything I could do, getting the 4 bets in pre, and then this board comes and I have to just check fold versus an idiot. Not an idiot, cut that, versus a maniac.
Yeah.
Yeah, you feel for the guy. But yeah, that was an interesting hand, and obviously I was getting some buzz online, and we're no exception. Sure. We're going to give it some buzz because it's very. Of course. This is a pretty entertaining main event. I mean, in the past, the kind of more modern main events have been kind of boring to me. Just because it's a ton of tanking, it's a ton of
over tanking and stuff. Yeah, but I mean, it makes sense. They're making decisions literally worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, so it's like. I kind of give him the pass on that one. The one time I feel like it's okay to overtank is probably in the WSOP main event.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a fun hand for sure. All right, so to the final hand of the main event. This final table, you and I were sweating it a bit while we were actually commentating the stream, which I don't know if that's a good thing or not. But it's kind of a huge moment in poker history. This guy George Holmes, Sims George. Right?
Yeah, George Holmes.
George Holmes makes this like moneymaker-esque run to make it heads up for the main event bracelet. I mean, they're playing for $8 million. This guy's from Atlanta. I can't remember what he does for a living, but they keep calling him like a home game player. Like, so it's just kind of your Joe Schmo guy playing against this German pro that's apparently a mega crusher. I hadn't heard his name before.
Karai Oldemir, yeah.
Karai Oldemir, apparently, somebody said, is the most skilled person to win the main event. I don't know how.
Yeah, he's definitely up there. I mean, there was a lot of buzz about like how whoever, depending on who won this main event final table, it was going to like have a bit of a paradigm shift again for the poker community, where it was going to like spark a ton of, revamp for the community, like Moneymaker did, where we're going to have new players flooding in if George Holmes wins. But at the same time, like we've never really had. At least, not that I know of. I've only ever watched this main event final table. I've watched like clips of the old ones, but I've never like watched one live until this year. And as far as I know, like Oldemir is the first like actual like pro. He's like sponsored by 888, like the whole thing to actually spike it. It's usually been somebody who has some other type of income. Overall, it's not just like they've played poker for their career, but I think I want to say he's like the first or one of few that have actually binked the main event as a poker pro.
It's like it's a poker site's dream to have one of their sponsored pros, one, make the final table, and two, just ship the thing, bro. It's amazing for advertising purposes. But so we're heads up. Holmes has made this godlike run to make it heads up, and he's got the button. He's got about 80 bigs. He's got king, queen off on the button. Raises, and Oldemir defends with 10-7 suited. The flop comes 10-7 high. Is it 10-7 deuce, maybe?
10-7 deuce, 10 deuce of hearts, 7 of spades. Oldemir's got 10-7 of diamonds. And so he flops top 2. He checks it over to Holmes, who decides to c-bet here. Just kind of repping his whole range, and then Oldemir check raises, just like, flopping massive and just wanting to get more money into the pot. And then Holmes does something that's kind of crazy on its surface, but at the same time, not really as much. He floats with king, queen high.
Yeah, with no diamond.
No
spade.
No heart.
No heart. Sorry.
Yeah, no heart at all. And I mean, I this looks kind of absurd on its surface, but it's not the craziest play. Like, the board is like super draw heavy. It's pretty well connected. Like, Oldemir could have a ton of bluffs in this spot, and Holmes is floating with king, queen high, thinking he might just have the best hand right now. And there are also a lot of turn cards that improve him. Like, he could pick up any jack, any 9, any king, any queen, and then his hand is already looking pretty good. So he makes the pure float and then spikes one. He binks a king on the turn.
King of spades, yeah.
King of spades. And
God dang it.
Yeah, king of spades. And
go ahead.
He turns top pair, which is just a nightmare situation, because like for every single reason now that he floated king queen, like he hit his card, right? Like he's not gonna fold now to any bet. And then Oldemir does put in the double barrel for like there was already like 52 million in the middle. And Oldemir puts out the double barrel for like 36 million or so.
36.5, yeah.
Yeah, 36.5. And then Holmes, obviously, not going to go anywhere. He tanks for a little while, just like thinking over his options. and
thinking that he just hit Miracle Gin.
Yeah, exactly. He thinks he has like the nuts right now, which is, I mean, it's not unreasonable to think that necessarily. However, Aldemir is playing pretty strong. And then he makes the call. They go to the river, which is actually like not a great card for Aldemir. It's a 9 of clubs. I mean, all the draws brick off.
Except
all of
the straight types.
Yeah, I was about to say all the flush draws brick off, but like a sneaky Queen Jack gets there, which Holmes could easily have if he had like Queen Jack of hearts or Queen Jack of spades exactly. It's like, he gets there with the straights. If Holmes was defending 10-9, 10-9 just got there. Holmes could also just easily have King 10 and have just like crushed Aldemir on the turn. And so Aldemir has like a weak 2 pair now on this river card. And checks it over to Holmes, and once Aldemir checks it over, everybody, even the announcers, like even Jamie Kerstetter was like, I think Holmes is going to check this back and like realize all of his equity and go to showdown, but he just rips it. He just rips it for just over the full pot, thinking that like he's going to get called by a weaker king, ace 10, something like that, exactly. And once he rips it here, like you can see the pain on Aldemir's face. It's actually a miserable spot.
I mean, for $4 million, you're having to call off basically for the entire tournament with this weird 2 pair versus a guy that could have any number of value hands.
Right.
Man, I mean, props to Holmes, like putting the max pressure on. I watched a video before this from a nerdy GTO guy, and apparently the solvers out there say that this is a fine play.
We're jamming with the king.
Yeah, but
I mean, I would have to look at the solves for something like that. On its surface, to me, it seems almost like a little bit of an overvalue. But at the same time, like if Aldemir had like King X of hearts, like he just now he just Holmes just gets it in and wins essentially. And so it's pretty close. Like it's not the craziest shove ever, but it also at the same time, you got to wonder like what exactly your value target is, because Aldemir could have a hand exactly like this. He could just have like bottom set and checked it over to Holmes, like hoping he, blasts off and bluffs, and so he can just snap call and win. But I mean, yeah, it's a very interesting hand, really. It really was for a final hand of the WSOP, because sometimes they're kind of boring, but this one was like both players had some real decisions to make in this spot for sure. Like once, like I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm even calling as Aldemir, like with 10-7.
It's so brutal. I mean, just the act of like having to call off. Yeah, I mean, I'd much rather punt it, I guess, aggressively than having to just call off on a guess. I mean, they were all basically agreeing. They're like, dude, this is just a guess.
Yeah.
Like, if you guess wrong, you lose, basically.
Pretty much.
And, it is interesting to think about what Holmes was trying to accomplish there by ripping the single pair on the end, facing a guy that, I mean, maybe on the surface with him checking that river, that communicated some weakness or something, but there again, it's like
I'm thinking so. I'm thinking that's what he was trying to exploit, because like Ace 10 could very conceivably have taken this line, though Aldemir I think might have just checked the turn, because like his main value target King 10 is now destroying him, and so maybe I don't know. There's there are definitely still hands he could get value from. Like I said, if Aldemir like banked a king himself, like had a weak suited king of hearts that he might check raise, like if he had like King 7 of hearts, I'd check raise that in Aldemir's position. And so who knows, man.
For essentially $4 million, you ever made a poker decision for freaking 7 figures?
No, the biggest poker decision I made was for like 14,000. I can't even imagine what like was going through these guys' heads. Like my heart would just be like pumping so fast in this spot. Like I'm not surprised that, honestly, I'm a little surprised that Aldemir didn't take more time to think about it, because like this is a gross spot on its surface
for $4 million, dude.
For $4 million, and just like as Aldemir, like this is every pro poker player's dream, right? Like he's, he gets to be the pro that binks the main event final table. It's like
chokes.
Yeah. So
there was a lot of kind of like what's the term? Intrinsic or extrinsic pressure as well on like hey, this isn't just the money, bro. Like, I dominated this final table. I've been the chip leader since like 20 remain, and I can't lose to this home game hero heads up. Man, really interesting hand. A really fun World Series, and maybe one day we'll get to play in that.
Yeah, maybe, man. Maybe one day we'll get to buy in, make a deep run, and hopefully we see each other at the final table.
And rep it for Texas Card House, obviously.
Of course, of course. Get the TCH patch on there, too.
That's right.
So.
That's right. Man, that's awesome. I mean, and with Holmes making it to second, I'm hoping enough new players see that. It's like, hey, this guy made $4 million running it up.
And the other thing is like Holmes, like, he didn't just like lay down and take it from Aldemir. Like, he fought back. There were several bluffs that he got through. There were several times that he put Aldemir in like tough spots. Like, I mean, this final hand is an example of that. There was a bluff that Holmes was not afraid to take with like King 6 on a like straight board, and Aldemir had a weak top pair, and like Aldemir had to like tank about it for a while. And so kudos to Holmes, seriously, for putting someone who is a professional in this game, who like objectively on his surface probably has an edge over you, like, and you're like sticking it to him, a little bit. You're making him work for it, at the very least. So that was like when everyone was saying that, this is going to change the game, it's like it already kind of did. That Holmes made it this far and is fighting back against this poker pro as it is anyway. It's like this should give plenty of new players some hope, some home game heroes, like you said, hope to come out and like maybe take the game more seriously and get in there and mix it up with some of us. Yeah,
and historically the German pros and the Russian pros are notorious for being just the most tough opponents.
Crushers,
that you can. These guys play for 100 hours a week, are crushing the Sims. These guys have everything figured out. And to go heads up, it was just like the most polar opposite battle. I mean, so it's great for ratings. I'm sure it's going to be great for when it comes out on CBS.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm hoping that Holmes had the wherewithal to realize the position that he was in and hopefully leverage that kind of unknown factor where people didn't know who he was or what his game was. I'm hoping he chose to leverage that, which like drove some of his kind of crazier plays.
Sure.
At the final table. Like, he didn't play like this. This guy had stones himself. Like, this guy was playing, flexing on people where a lot of amateurs would just kind of cave. I mean, this guy, each ladder is probably very significant, life-changing money, and he's playing like he's made a final table of any other kind of tournament. It was like really impressive to watch.
Yeah, it was a good final table. I was glad to say that it was my first one that I've watched live all the way through. So
yeah, absolutely fun times. Yeah, good analysis, and again, hopefully we make it next year.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Course.
But those were the two interesting hands from the WSOP, and so that's going to do it for Inside TCH Live. For our next episode, we're actually going to have Nick Rigby from that notorious Deuce 3 hand. He calls it the Dirty Diaper, apparently.
The Dirty Diaper. Yeah, that's right.
So tune in for that episode, which should come out in a few weeks when it comes through Dallas. Greg, got anything else for the people?
No, I think that was it, man. It's been fun.
Absolutely. It's been a fun time. Really appreciate the analysis as always. Thanks for watching or listening wherever you are, and be sure to subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that good stuff. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode of Inside TCH Live.